The stream has started now, Chair Liz.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, so good evening, everybody. Welcome to Homes and Safe Communities on the Scrutiny Committee on 9th of October 2024. May I remind everyone present that the meeting is being live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and this recording archived for future viewing. Could all participants please mute themselves when not speaking in order to avoid any background noise or feedback when other participants are speaking? If a participant wishes to speak, can they use the remote raise hand function? If a participant raises their hand via the remote function and is not subsequently invited to speak by the chair, please could they turn their camera on to indicate or place a message in the chat function. When invited to address by the chair, please could all participants ensure that their microphone and camera is on to ensure that they can be seen and heard when actively participating. If this is not possible for any reason, please bring this to the attention of the chair and or Democratic Services Officer as soon as possible. Please ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat. For the sake of the recording, the chat function may be used to highlight any technical issues and or to grab the attention of the chair and Democratic Services Officer. If any participant has difficulty hearing or being heard when they are addressing the committee, then they should let the chair or Democratic Officer know. So please could I welcome all committee and non-committee elected members, cabinet members, our officers, and also anyone watching the live meeting broadcast. Also, I do apologise for my cat being here tonight. He will not leave my side. Moving on to the agenda and beginning with agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any?
There's one through to Democratic Chair, and that's for Councillor Susan Lloyd-Selby, unless she's joined us last minute. No, for Susan Lloyd-Selby, please.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hennessy, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I have an apology for Tenant Liaison Rep David Dutch. He is still in work, but he is going to try to join the meeting a bit later.
Yes, no problem. Any other apologies? Okay, thank you. Agenda item 2, minutes of the previous meeting, from the 10th of July 2024. Are members happy to approve, and can I have a proposer and a seconder? Councillor Hennessy?
I propose.
Okay. Does anybody want to second? If not, I will. I'll second that. Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Do we have any?
None provided directly to ourselves, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any other declarations of interest? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so item 4 is Youth Justice and Early Support Service End of Year Performance Report, and I believe Kirsty will be taking this. Come on in, Kirsty.
Chair, I'm just checking if Kirsty's online, so bear with me a second.
Okay. It may be that we have to move items around to accommodate Kirsty. Okay.
Sorry, bear with us, Chair. We're just checking if she's connected.
No problem.
She doesn't appear to be connected to the meeting, my end. Mark, would you say that's looks the same to you?
No, she's not. So it may be best, Chair, to go to the next agenda item, which is the recommendation
Yeah.
track and forward work programme.
That's what I was thinking. We'll give Kirsty time to join. So if you'd like to come in on the first and second quarter scrutiny recommendation tracking, Liz.
Thank you, Chair. Bear with me if my picture looks a little dark. The lights have just gone off in the room that I'm using. So this report is the usual quarterly update regarding quarters 1 and 2 combined on the status of the committee's recommendations and actions taken to progress these, as well as the latest version of the committee's forward work programme. Members may notice several updates, both to the current position of some of the ongoing recommendations and also to the dates on which various reports are now due to be presented to committee. Some notable examples of updates to the work programme are as follows. The presentation from the newly appointed Police and Crime Commissioner, as requested by Councillor Johnson, is now provisionally scheduled for next month's November meeting. Something which is not yet reflected on the forward work programme is the forthcoming committee visit to the Vale Food Bank, which is now scheduled for next Thursday, the 17th of October. I also thought it would be good to bring members' attention to the 2 long-standing ongoing recommendations on the tracker document. These are regarding a report identifying an appropriate housing solution for the traveller community coming to committee, and the Domestic Abuse Assessment and Referral Coordinator Service having greater engagement with support groups concerning domestic abuse. Committee will be aware that these are recommendations going back to 2019 and 2021 respectively. And so we've been having some brief discussions recently on the idea of looking to perhaps close these off from the recommendation tracker and address them in a slightly different way. For example, an option would be, if it's possible for officers to provide updates at certain intervals, or perhaps reports could be brought to committee as and when there is updated information available on these 2 areas, perhaps. I won't go through everything that's been updated this time around, as members will be familiar with this kind of report and will have seen all the details in the appendices. But I don't know whether officers on the line may want to provide any further detail or any updates that aren't in the report. I know, Mike, you recently advised us on an update regarding the recommendation from committee on property acquisitions. Was there anything that we can share with committee around this? Based on our discussions recently, Mike?
Chair, if I may, can I?
Yes,
just
of course you may.
Could I just pick up on the first 2 points that Liz just raised? In relation to Gypsy and Traveller site selection, there will be an update coming to committee probably this side of Christmas. The local authority members will be aware, required to provide an updated assessment every 2 years. We have delivered a draft assessment to Welsh Government for consideration. The draft report has to be approved by Welsh Government before it can be adopted. The report itself, when it does come to members, the report members will be aware is an important document and feeds into will feed into our consideration under the LDP that comes to council and to cabinet later on in the year or next year. So it is an underpinning document in terms of a needs assessment in relation to gypsies and travellers, and I think we'll be able to give you an update, as I say, as part of that report, rather than as we have done over the last couple of years. And as Liz has mentioned, I give verbal updates from time to time on this area. I can give you a definitive position, as I say, hopefully before Christmas. In relation to the question regarding properties that we acquire under our housing development and acquisition policy, what will basically happen is that we will amend the current policy to include the recommendation that Scrutiny Committee made a few meetings ago. Just to remind committee members, we agreed that large-scale acquisitions that we'd seen, or larger-scale acquisitions, and I think the example was given by Councillor Haynes in relation to St Athan, will now be reported to committee directly prior to acquisition for consultation and consideration, and that we would, for individual acquisitions, so individual one-off properties that the Council Housing Department has been acquiring to increase its social housing stock, then there will be ward member consultation on an individual basis based on the addresses of those properties. And therefore it is, as I say, our intention that the revised housing development and acquisition policy will include that. That policy is currently under review because the existing policy has come to an end, and that again will come before Cabinet and then to Scrutiny Committee for consideration and adoption at the appropriate time. And I'll refer to this matter and direct committee to this matter in due course.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Mike. So yes, it was just to sort of conclude from my point of view that I'd be keen to hear committee's thoughts regarding the best way that committee would like to approach ongoing updates regarding the two recommendations that are long-standing, and also happy to take any questions, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Thank you, Mike. Councillor Payne.
Thank you. It was 2.8. It was around the topic. Hang on, I've lost it. That was it. 2.12. It was the scrutiny topic suggestion form. So it's really good in terms of engagement and getting people to suggest things. But it's, I suppose, as scrutiny is a rolling thing, it's making the public aware of this was one of my things with the work programme, because it, you know, could we have regular postings regarding that and what, because there was a few posts that went out on social media around, you know, what scrutiny is, and I'd reposted them as well. It would be great if we could have that topic suggestion form that goes out as well to make the public a bit more aware of what we do in a rolling way. So a regular thing, really.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea to sort of use social media to promote the kind of public engagement in scrutiny. I mean, like you say, I'm sure it gets done already, but perhaps more of that, or finding more engaging ways to do that might be a good idea.
Yeah, and maybe tie it in with our meeting schedule as well.
That sounds really good.
Cheers.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else want to say anything or ask anything? Councillor Hennessy?
Yeah, it's not on there, but I'm just checking. Is there any update on the Eagleswell site currently?
I don't know if, Mike, you're able to provide any update on this.
Come on in, Mike.
Thank you for the question. The members will be aware that the Housing Department secured planning permission for the site. The planning permission was subject to a number of pre-occupation conditions. The council's contractor has worked through many of those pre-contract conditions, and we will need to submit revised proposals back to planning to discharge those pre-occupation conditions, which officers are working on at the moment. So as far as the site is concerned, the department will be looking, once those conditions have been met and approved, then we would hope to be able to start occupying the site shortly after.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Anybody else? I saw Councillor Haynes pop his hand up and then he took it down again. Are you still wanting to speak, Councillor Haynes?
No, Chair, Councillor Hennessy asked the exact question I was going to ask and Mike's answered it, but thank you.
Not a problem. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have, Councillor Payne?
Sorry, just a quick one. In terms of the tracking and the monitoring, do we ever kind of provide like case studies about what people have asked and what the issues are in terms of the public requests? Is that something that's ever happened?
Just to clarify, Councillor, do you mean do we provide examples of what topics members of the public have sort of requested?
Yeah. So do we do that? And do we, because it is a tracking report, do we look at the kind of the beginning, the middle and the end of that particular?
It's not a process that I'm particularly familiar or aware of, but it's, again, it sounds like quite a nice suggestion, something we can sort of, a suggestion we could take away and potentially look at if committee would like to do something along those lines.
Yeah, because I think in terms of the tracking, in terms of the public view, the public don't tend to get the beginning, the middle, of the end, and sometimes it is in a very large report. So, for me, when I'm reading things, it's quite nice to capture it in a short kind of story-like fashion so that they can understand what our committee has done, where their topic has gone, and what is the end result.
Yeah, I think it's something
I always have a simplistic view, Liz, of things, and if I can understand it in a more simplistic way, in a kind of synopsis, then it's easy for them to know that we do, scrutiny does work, and you can be involved in it, and these are some of the things that do happen.
Yeah, I think it's something that gets covered a little bit more in the Scrutiny annual report. That sort of qualitative kind of look at what Scrutiny does. But if that's something that committee would like to be covered more in the quarterly tracking reports, that's something that I personally would be happy to have a look at looking into.
Thank you, Liz.
Welcome.
Mike?
Chair, it's only trying to be helpful in this regard. I think the conversation with regard to the annual report is probably the place where this more informal communication with the electorate would probably be appropriate. I think it's probably pertinent for chairs of scrutiny committees to consider the type of information, I guess, as part of your chairs meetings with regard to how we increase the level of engagement and involvement of the public. I think Miles and I have spoken at previous scrutiny committees and say that the council is committed to improving that relationship in terms of information, engagement and transparency. And this would seem a really good opportunity, working with our communication team, our democratic and communication team, together with the chairs of committee services, to develop an easier read guide, perhaps, but also, I suppose, an opportunity to increase the public engagement in the scrutiny process. So it was just a suggestion, really, that perhaps the chairs group, when they're considering their annual reports and what have you, whether this topic could be raised, and perhaps Rob Jones be involved in some discussions around how we might improve that practice.
I see the sense in that, yes. I do see the sense in that. Okay. Would you be happy with that, Councillor Payne?
Yes, that makes sense to me too. I mean, there has been some discussion in the chairs and vice chairs group, but I think it is pertinent, particularly in terms of, homes, this committee, really. So thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, does anybody else want to speak on that item? Okay, I see no hands up, no indications. Okay, so we have some recommendations. The recommendations are that the status of the actions listed in appendices A to E to the report be agreed. We happy with that? Propose it and seconder, please. Councillor Hennessy? Can't hear you, sir.
I'll propose.
Thank you. Councillor Lovelock-Edwards, your hand was up.
Only to either propose or second, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. The second is that the updated forward work programme schedule for 2024 to 25 attached at Appendix F be approved and uploaded to the council website. Are we happy with that? Councillor Hennessy? Are you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. If we don't have a seconder, I will second that. I'd also like to take forward Councillor Payne's suggestion that we go back to the chairs group regarding the tracking reports. Okay, are we happy with that?
Chair, can I just check whether we want to recommend to close down the 2 long-standing recommendations within the appendice there, whether that's something we're happy to agree to do at this point, and then receive updates to committee on a regular basis, like as a verbal update perhaps, or a report that comes annually, something like that?
Yeah. Are committee happy with that? Councillor Hennessy?
I would be more happy at an annual report. Sorry, I've got to take an emergency call.
Okay. Councillor Payne, your hand was up.
Just to go with officer's recommendation, really.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think committee are happy with that.
Thank you,
Okay,
Chair.
thank you. Has Kirsty joined us yet?
Unfortunately not, Chair. We don't seem to have Kirsty online. She may have had difficulties joining, but we haven't heard from her, unfortunately. So there's the option to either go with the report that you've read, as you know, as in the agenda, and then we could forward any questions to Kirsty afterwards, or we could alternatively defer the report to another meeting, Chair.
Okay. Sorry. So very unlike Kirsty. I hope everything is all right.
Yes, I thought the same.
Yeah. I hope everything's all right. Councillor Payne, you have your hand up?
Thank you, Chair. Can we defer, please? Because there are some questions, particularly about the restorative stuff, that I'd like to have asked.
Okay.
If that's all right.
To be honest, I was thinking that earlier. Councillor Haynes? I can't hear you.
Look at that. Sorry, muted. I was about to say the same. Everyone's agreeing with everyone tonight. I think it'd be better if we deferred.
I do as well. Are committee happy for this to be deferred until we next have space? Councillor Lovelock-Edwards? Yep. I see no dissensions and I see, yep. Okay. Liz, can we get that deferred to another meeting, please?
Yes, Chair, absolutely. I'll arrange that directly with the officers and see when we can next fit that in.
Yeah, I don't really want to accept the report as it is, because I know this report, these youth justice ones, they normally do have a lot of questions, a lot of queries. There's also compliments as well. And I would like to actually be able to discuss these with Kirsty, and I know committee members will as well. I've already discussed mine in the agenda conference, but I want to give committee members a chance.
Absolutely,
Okay.
I totally understand. That's no problem for us to look to rearrange with the officers.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to add more to your workload, guys. Okay, so I think that's it for tonight then, because I have no other urgent items into part 1 or part 2. I am right in that, Liz, aren't I?
That's absolutely correct, Chair. Yes, we only ended up having the one item tonight. So yes, we'd have no urgent item.
Okay. All right. So our next meeting then is the 6th of November at 6 p.m. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, everybody. Go and enjoy the rest of your evening. And I'll see if I can get this cat to wake up so I can move. Bye.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you.
Night all.